Dear students, we are going to the revision of the next poem, that is to the foot from its child revision, and the important questions we'll be covering up now. So Pablo Neruda is a Chilean poet, diplomat and politician. He is from Chile and is a diplomat and he is a very good politician also. He has written in a variety of styles. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1971. To the Foot from Its Child is a poem richly filled with a meaning and striking imaginary. Means here he is using several images. It is a criticism on how an individual is reduced to be an object of suppression under varying circumstances. Okay, how one person may be experiencing difficult moments because somebody is suppressing, putting down that person, and the other person is experiencing that kind of suppression. Neruda rightly makes his observation in the beginning of the poem that the child is not aware of the reality but dreams to be butterfly or an apple. So the child doesn't know if you become butterfly or an apple what will be your fate. But he wants it to become a butterfly or apple. Then the passage of time exposes the foot to such hardships of life that it loses the battle and remains condemned to live in the shoe. So, then the passage of time exposes the foot to such hardships. Foot is not safe inside the shoe, but it has to go through certain hardships that it loses the battle and remains condemned to live in the shoe, that it has to live inside the shoe itself. It is like a punishment for the foot to be in the shoe. Here the poet shows how is an individual is conditioned by the society. So if you want or don't want, you need to wear shoes, right? So in that same way, an individual who is living in the society is suppressed by others, and there is no other way for him to get rid of it. The foot then starts to understand its limits and live accordingly, like a blind man out of touch with its fellow. So the foot has to be hidden inside the shoe. It has no freedom. As the foot grows, its soft aspects start to change and grow hard. Neruda effectively uses the imagery of eyeless reptiles to describe the state of the foot. How the eyeless reptiles will be struggling in the same way foot is struggling inside the shoe. Though life comes hard as volcanoes of death, it is to be accepted. Life is very, very difficult, but we have many problems, many difficulties in life, but life has to be accepted. The latter half of the poem describes the presence of the foot in every order of life. So, foot is present means difficulties are present in every order of life. Whatever lifestyle you choose, you have to face difficulties in life. The one foot, the other, now the man's, now the woman's. The foot had such a life without any respite. It is a lone and arduous course for the foot until the whole man chooses to stop. It continues to dream beyond its confines even when it is buried. Okay, foot will think have many dreams even when it is inside the shoe. It continues to dream beyond its confines even when it is buried. In other words, society overpowers an individual from immense possibilities of life. Okay, even though the society is suppressing a human being, he will have his own plans, his own ideas, and his own dreams for the future. Okay, that is what the poet wanting to tell us through this poem. Okay, questions. Describe the different stages of transformation of the foot after it is condemned to live in a shoe. This is the question. These all the questions are already asked for the final exam of yours. So from there we have taken these questions. So a child's foot offers many contrasting distributions in the life in the poem. At the child's age, it does not realize that it was a foot, but after facing many difficulties in life, it understands that it was a prisoner inside a man's shoe. Okay, because this poem is already done and you know the meaning, so I am hurrying up with the question answers. It felt the darkness inside the shoe that it could not even get an opportunity to communicate with the other foot. So, you know, one foot also cannot communicate with the other foot. Such an experience both the feet are having. When the man grows old, it also grows old because rough and becomes rough and gets age related diseases. Foot is becoming weak and old when man becomes old and understands that it cannot stay young forever. The man must end his life one day or the other, but the foot is unaware of all these happenings. Next question. Explain the various stages of hardships faced by the foot after being confined in a shoe. So, a child's foot offers many contrasting descriptions in the poem. It is undergoing a lot of difficulties, a child's foot. Okay, at the child's age, it does not realize that it was a foot, but after facing many difficulties in life, it understands that it was a prisoner inside a man's shoe. So, man did not know, foot did not know where it is. So, after a long time, after experiencing darkness, only foot realizes that it is inside the shoe in that darkness. It felt the darkness inside the shoe that it couldn't even get an opportunity to communicate with other food. So she did not speak to any food. When the man grows old, it also grows old because becomes rough and gets age-related diseases who foot and understands that it cannot stay young forever. The man must end his life one day or the other, but the foot is unaware of all these happenings. That man has to end his life. He was not aware. Next, to the foot from his child is a journey of human life elucidate. The poem beautifully describes and salutes the ordinary human being which continues with the life despite all odds. Means people have difficulties, but how they hide and keep their difficulties. That is what depicted in this poem. He imagines our dreams of becoming free and flying like a butterfly. Isn't it? Everybody has such a dream that we should fly like butterfly, we should be free beings. Everybody has such dreams. It means the child is full of imagination and dreams, growing up to umpteen possibilities. The foot is compared to a butterfly and an apple. The choices the life gives are as big as one's imagination. But this is not to be. There is a value of difference between dreams and the harsh realities of life. What you dream and what is the reality is always different, isn't it? It's not same. That too for a common man. He has to face hardships even to exit and make ends meet. So you know when you are here also in the school. So he has to face hardships even to exist and make ends meet. For a common man, it's very, very difficult. Everything in a challenge is a challenge in his life. He has to soften his dreams and harden his mind and body to face life and live through it. He toils day in and day out in the fields, mines, markets, ministerials, etc. Hour after hour, day after day, year after year, the common man walks relentlessly. So you know a common man how he has to work for his daily bread. Relentlessly he has to work. Without respite or time to bear himself to love or sleep. Thus he accepts the realities of life, gives up his dreams, and treads through life like a blind man who is struggling through life, not knowing where is life taking him. The foot is an imaginary to describe the life of a child with heart full of hopes and eyes full of dreams of what is would like to grow up to be. But the constraints of society, family, economical constraints put a halt to his dreams and confines it to a predetermined life. Even when it's dead, it still doesn't know that it can be no longer be what it was and is now free to become whatever it wants to be. Isn't it? The poem To the Foot from a Child depicts the progress from childhood through adulthood to old age and final death. Discuss or the question. The poem To the Foot from a Child is a comment on the journey of life, elucidate, trace the stages of the foot's transformation as portrayed to the foot from its child. There are many more questions if you want, they are in the Google, you can find out. In the poem To the Foot from His Child, Pablo Neruda expresses his view of life using the metaphor of foot. So, you know here how the poet is using the metaphor of foot to show that what your life is. The poem begins with the description of the child's naivety. The child's foot does not know that it is a foot. It dreams of unlimited possibilities. It wants to become a butterfly enjoying unbridled freedom and enjoying the pleasures of life symbolized by the apple. So the foot has many dreams and desires which it itself can't satisfy. The poet expresses the experience of the child's foot when it is exposed to reality in the real world. It walks over stones, streets, ladders, its bits of grass, paths in the rough surface of the earth. All these symbolically stand for obstacles, problems, difficulties, and hurdles that one encounters in life. When the child's foot faces these realities, it attempts to get them and becomes aware that it was an illusory world and does not have infinite possibilities in life but has to go on in life. Next. So this is all about the main important points that I have covered. Those were there in the question paper. There are many more questions. Those are there additional questions in Google. You can find out and read.